Hi everyone, I'm Vincent Joe.
Hi, I'm Olivia Smart.
Ciao, sono Lara Naki Gutman.
I am Mark Henretti.
Hi, I'm Emilia Zingis.
And I'm Vadim Kolesnik.
Sono Daniel Gassel.
Hi, I'm Amber Glenn.
Hi, I'm Jacob Sanchez.
Hi, this is Alyssa Liu, and you're listening to This Week in Skating.
Welcome to This Week in Skating, the weekly podcast bringing you the latest news from the world of figure skating. Here are your hosts, Daphne, Gina, and Matteo.
And we are back. Did you miss us? I know it's been a long summer, but we needed to take a break. And we're back now. Things are going to look a little different around here. And if you want more information on that, check out our episode we released about a week ago that talks about how things are going to look for This Week in Skating this year. It was a very long season last year, the Olympic season, and we needed to shake things up a little bit because, well, it's a new quad. So, as we said in our release a week ago, skaters are changing coaches, getting new programs, switching things up, and it just seemed like a really good time for us to do that. The figure skating media space is ever changing, and sometimes you need to pivot. I feel that, at least with icedance.com right now, I feel like there's a push for different types of media, and we're getting more and more content creators who are fans of the sport coming into the space, and things just look a little bit different, I think, as a whole, even in the media space. And yeah, it's just an ever-changing space right now, and so we felt it was a great time to reevaluate and make some adjustments, so we are.
Yeah, but here we are. It is season 5, and I don't know if either of you are ready for the season to have started. We have JGP that kicked off this past weekend. So now we're at full swing into JGP. We had one challenger. We're a halfway point maybe of NQS events. But I was really wanting the off-season to be just a little bit longer, but now I feel like I'm ready because I went to Cranberry Cup, so I have now seen skating in person for this season. I feel like I'm ready, but I also feel like I need a little more time too.
I'm still seeing sunshine at this time of the day, which is weird because it's still showing that it's summertime, and normally summertime is the break from the skating season, but of course, as we know, we cannot have a long break anyway. So it's interesting that it started, but life has also been going on ever since the last quad and the last season ended, and we all have different stuff that we've been doing that will be coming up, and yeah, it does feel, for whatever reason, when I think back about particularly the last 2 years before the last season, leading to the Olympic Games and the last World Championships, I feel like it was almost as if we were getting in knowing that there was something to be achieved and the Olympics were coming our way and we had to get ready for it. While this season, post-Olympics, feels like it's a season of adjustment for everything, and that's maybe why we all reached the same agreements and conclusion that the podcast needed to have something happening for us to feel good with it. So hopefully, yeah, we are on the right track. I think one thing that I kept saying is we are probably going to explore, experience, try to experiment with what the content. So that's going to be something that, of course, will rely on all of you to feedback to us as well. Give us some comments. Let us know how we're doing. But I think we'll have fun, playing with different ways of delivering content, and see how we will approach this season.
Yeah, it was a long summer. And I mean, summer is still going on, but a lot of things happened in this off season. coaching changes, as we've talked a little bit about. Some skaters are taking a break. They're not going to compete this season. It's a bit wild out there. And I expect some may still be making decisions about things.
Yeah, I think it is, normal after an Olympic quad ends that we're going to have, the retirements. And we knew some of the retirements before the end of last season concluded. But then, of course, we got retirements during the off season that maybe we weren't expecting. But then we had, of course, the splits happen where one partner decided, I want to keep skating, while another partner decided, I want to hang up my skates and either do some coaching or do something else completely different. And so you had new pairings happening. You have, look at Canadian ice dance. We've got a number of different teams in Canadian ice dance that will be competing this year. In the US, it's musical pairs. We have a lot of changes in partnerships within the pairs discipline. So you'll be seeing partners who were skating with another partner just last season, skating with a different partner this season. You kind of need a scorecard to keep track of who was with who and who was with whom then. And yeah, it's kind of crazy, but that is what is expected. In an off season after an Olympic quad, it's all looking ahead to those next 4 years, and decisions are being made. And so we had a busy, few months of, we were hearing about this retirement or this split or this new partnership or this new coaching change. So it was sort of hard to kind of keep up with all of that. And I know I did some updates here or there, or we made some posts on social media so that you kind of knew what was going on. But I'm sure once the season goes on, there is going to be other changes. I mean, we did get the Grand Prix assignments. There are still to be determined in those assignments. There are still possibilities that a skater who does have Grand Prix assignments may say, look, I'm skipping the Grand Prix season. I might skate in the winter. I know everybody is kind of hoping that a figure skater or two may be on Dancing with the Stars this fall. And if that is the case, they may not compete in the Grand Prix series. So we may see, some skaters, again, skipping out on the Grand Prix. Could they be at nationals and, and Europeans and Four Continents and Worlds in the second half of the season? That remains to be seen. But yeah, we did get a lot of off-season news, and I'm sure it's just going to continue come as we get into September and October here before the Grand Prix season starts.
We're probably in the trickle time where it's not going to be as frequent, but there was a period of time this summer, it felt like there was news every day of something.
Oh, I know. I would record an episode and then I'm like, really? That episode is now outdated because now there's another update.
What I have loved is this is the time of year where we learn what people are skating to, and the programs and information is coming out, and I really enjoy that so much. And I went to 2 competitions this summer, the Dallas Classic and Lake Placid Ice Dance Championship and International. So I've been able to see quite a few programs this season, including some of those new Golden Waltz rhythm dances that I think have turned out a little bit different than what people were expecting. I think the general skating fan felt like we were going to get more old school waltzes, but we're getting a lot of modern interpretations, and that's what I want. I want the whole spectrum, and I feel like this season we're getting a good mix of all of it. There are some teams who are skating to something more typical of a waltz, and then others are picking newer music and putting their own twist on it. And I like that. I like the variety that we're getting, but we're still getting the Golden Waltz pattern piece in there. So I feel like we're moving into a hybrid area that I think can work if they continue down this path. I know I like it.
So I haven't seen much of the Golden Waltz other than whatever fans recorded from Lake Placid and then posted online, because that event wasn't live streamed. But as I told Daphne, I like the typical Golden Waltz, and so I am interested in these ones that are a bit different, but I'm also wondering how the judges are gonna, score them. So far, I mean, this was a competition, though it was international, that took place in the U.S., and the U.S. judges seem to, kind of, like the different versions of it, but, how judging is with ice dance, it all remains to be seen how it's gonna be judged going further this season. But there were some teams, at Lake Placid that definitely looked ready and are putting, themselves out there for hopefully some internationals this fall, and, could be some teams to definitely watch out for. Again, unfortunate that competition was not live streamed. I know a lot of people were also upset with the fact that Cranberry Cup was not live streamed as well. And, that's unfortunate that some of these early competitions are not live streamed. I know we all want to be watching them. But my thoughts on Cranberry Cup, I will be first honest, I kind of was second guessing if I was going to go, because when the roster came out, which was like less than 2 weeks before the event, which that's a whole other story, but that's unfortunate that we can't get these rosters out sooner so that we can get people excited for these events and who they could see at these events. Not for only like in-person attendance, but also for if they are live streamed or broadcasted that people will want to watch. But when the roster came out, I looked at it and I was like, oh, wow. And I shouldn't have been surprised. There were a lot of the top skaters who have competed at this event before that were not listed. And, given that we are coming off an Olympic quad, those skaters are taking their time coming back, if they are coming back. But I told myself, nope, you're going to go see some of the skaters you don't get to necessarily see in person. It's a great opportunity to see programs at the beginning of their process, as to develop and to be, an outstanding program later in the season. It was also a chance to see like Yusong King and UJ Kim make their senior debut. Of course, they finished first and second at that event, and it was great to see them, who I had not seen in person. So it was a really fun event to be at. Something that, again, I wasn't sure I was going to go once I saw the roster, but was glad I went, because now I've gotten to see how, skaters are looking as they head this new Olympic quad. Got to catch up with some friends and stuff. Of course, that's always an exciting thing about going to an event. You definitely knew it's still so early in the seasons. The scores were low. We know we've got new changes in the scoring and in the elements because we have less jumps this season. And I'm glad I went, but yeah, we're still so early. And that was my big takeaway. It was still so early in this season.
Well, I love starting my season in Dallas. After the pandemic, it was the first competition that I went to. It had been 18 months since we had been at a competition, so it felt really good to be there. And so now it's just become a thing that I start my season in Dallas. And the rosters were not as robust as they had been in the past, but there still was some great skating. In some cases, some of the senior teams did not even have their costumes yet. That's happened in Lake Placid too. There were teams that were skating like in warm-up gear or just an old costume. Between Lake Placid and Dallas, getting to see the rhythm dances at senior, it's been a lot of fun to see how different camps and skaters are interpreting the Golden Waltz and the pieces around it, like the music they've chosen and how they have constructed things, because the pattern didn't start in the same place for everyone. And that's part of it. It doesn't have to. But you can always tell the steps, because the steps that they picked are really noticeable. They're very visually interesting and they stand out. Still, judges are getting used to not a new system, but new elements. There were some scoring anomalies that were corrected after the senior rhythm dance in Lake Placid. I thought it was kind of strange because there were two teams that when their scores came up, I think one scored a 50 and the other scored a 49. And then by the time the official results came out, their score had been increased. So something somewhere had not calculated correctly for them, for those two teams. Something had been missed. I'm not really sure because I don't have a screenshot of what it looked like before. I only know that their scores were lower. Seeing live performances is always just so much fun. Just being in the arena, there's just something about the way that you feel being there in person. There's just nothing like it. I love the feel of being at a competition, and this was no different. It's always fun to watch the teams at the lower levels because some of them are new or some are moving up to a different level. It's fun to see the development and how teams grow from year to year versus how they were in the beginning. There were even pre-juvenile teams that have popped up this season. I think there are 4 or 5, which is great because we haven't seen that many in recent years. And the numbers at the lower levels seem to be dwindling, at least in the US. I really liked being there for the international in Lake Placid. There were 14 teams to start and 1 withdrew before the free dance, but it still was a decent roster. Normally, we have more Canadian teams that come, but again, there was such a shift in Canadian ice dance with all of these re-teams that we still had some Canadian teams come. It just wasn't the teams that I'm used to seeing every year because those teams are no longer together. Like Lake Placid, Dallas also had some scoring adjustments after the competition in junior dance. Things fluctuated a little bit. And that was even after the medals had already been awarded.
So, Matteo, I know you haven't gotten to go to an event yet. So when is your possible first event in person?
Oh no, I'm a little deflated. It's bad because, it's not a time of the year that I would normally go to an event. But what I did 4 years ago, so in 2022, I remember going to Finlandia Trophy to kick off the new quad, Olympic quad. And that event, I remember, was incredibly well attended. And it felt like it properly inaugurated the new 4 years leading to the Olympic Games. These new season, I've got quite a lot of things coming up in my private life, but I'm thinking that probably chances are I'm going to be in Finland twice. Fingers crossed. So Finlandia Trophy as in the Grand Prix and World in March. So that's my hope. Because everything else is becoming a bit too difficult to attend given different commitments. And it's sad because you get used to going to a lot of events, and Europe is quite easy to go to. So you never know with me. Maybe one day I'm going to tell the two of you, look, there is an event in such and such. I'm flying. I just bought tickets. But yeah, we'll see. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it though, because it feels like when I suppose our listeners that have been to a live competition know it. If you start going to live competitions, it's quite addictive and you want to continue going because it's the atmosphere, the fact that you actually see programs live and they're totally different and seeing them on TV. And very often on the podcast, as you know, we say, I am waiting to see that program in person because I'm pretty sure that it will probably hit me differently in person rather than what I see on TV. So we try to create as many opportunities to go to live events, but we also live a life.
Yeah.
Totally. Different competing priorities.
I can relate to that. Anne and I had talked and decided that we were probably not going to be able to make it to the ice dance final this year, and we have gone every year to that event since the first one. Before it was called the ice dance final, it was something else. I think 2020 was the first one. We've gone every year that we could go. And while we were in Lake Placid, we had another conversation about how can we not go to the dance final, because it's really one of our favorite events every year. And so somehow the two of us were going to make it work so that we can be there. And Nationals in the U.S. looks different this year because they are having a second piece of Nationals for the lower levels. Juvenile, intermediate, and novice. And then the juniors are part of that. And part of it is called developmental championships. And the juniors, I think, is national championships. It's a little bit confusing. So we're trying to just see how that's going to work out. But that's one of the reasons why we had decided, okay, we're probably going to just do the extended nationals and not go. But after talking about it and being there in Lake Placid, we're both just like, okay, we've got to figure out how to make this happen because we have to be at the dance final.
And it's not, I know we all talk about these big events that we like to go to, but for people who want to see skating in person, you don't necessarily have to go to like a Nationals, a Grand Prix. There are events like these NQS events that are taking place all over the US right now. You can go and watch those. And I'm sure that there is probably an NQS event taking place not too far from where you live because they're scattered all over the US. They started in July and they keep going until October. So if you go to IDC or you go to FSO, we have all the NQ events listed for the year. So you can definitely go and check out and see if there's something happening where you are. But if you live in the Boston area, there is so much going on right now at the Skating Club of Boston. They have Boston Open coming up, but then this week they've got the Summer Sizzler. They're going to have the John Nix Parish Challenge, which is a challenger event. So there is so many things going on. You don't have to say, well, I just can't go to Nationals, so I'm not going to see any skating this year. You can go and see an NQS event. You don't have to, go to these like big events because you never know who that skater is that you may see at an NQS event. They could be a national champion 5 years from now or 6 years from now or whatever. But, so there is skating right in your backyard. You might have to go a little bit further. I know for me, we have our one competition every year. It's not an NQS event that our local skating club has, but I know there are others not too far of a drive. So if you're always looking for skating, it's around. You don't have to wait for a big event or a big show. You just got to look within, your own skating clubs in your area, and you probably can find something that you can watch skating in person at.
Yeah, local events are also, or smaller events are also in a way more intimate, so to speak. So the big ones have got massive protocols and the skaters are literally thrown on the ice and then they leave the arena because there are so many skaters to have to go through and they have, as I said, protocols that they have to follow. But when you go to non-major events, it feels much more intimate, much more relaxed. Some of the skaters actually, you may see them skating and then 10 minutes later they're sitting next to you just watching other skaters. It's quite a unique experience anyway. And we keep thinking that, skating is not an easy sport to follow because it requires time. It requires you to be able to travel very often and sometimes it's quite expensive as well. It's not just go around it. But these smaller events are actually great. And it would also be great if you have children and you think that they're interested in the sport, take them there, give them that kind of experience because you never know whether it's that life-changing moment for them to see that with their own eyes. And maybe next thing they will say is, Mom, Dad, can I try that? And you never know. Next thing you know is you accompany them to the World Championships in 10 years.
Yeah, you just never know. It's so, I think, important, one, to expose kids to everything that you can so that they can find their community, their focus, the thing that they're good at, the thing they want to try. And again, yes, these events are a great opportunity to see the next generation of skaters, especially the NQS events, because these are literally qualifying events for a sectionals, which then goes to nationals. So you don't know who you're going to see. You really don't. So it can be super, super exciting. And Matteo, yes, going to events is very expensive. And for the three of us, we don't have sponsors. We pay our own way to go to competitions. All of the photographers and journalists that volunteer at IDC, they do volunteer. I help with getting them a credential, but they pay their own way and for their hotel. And I'm so grateful that they're willing to donate their time and effort and financially do this so that we can share more of skating with the world. Skating got really hyped up during the Olympics, and now there are a lot of fans who are taking to social media and working to become content creators and influencers in this space. And I love seeing skating have so much attention and the passion behind it. It's amazing to see people who want to share more about the sport with everyone. One thing I did want to mention, and you know, if you're a content creator and you're listening to us, it can change your life to jump into doing things like this, because I want to say, when I started IDC, I did not imagine 27 years later I was still going to be doing these things. I did want to mention, though, that a lot of the photos that are getting used in some of these posts are from my site, are from FSO, are from other websites. And since I know we have a new group of people that are following the sport and doing this, I just wanted to share a couple of things for you to think about. The first is that if you want to use photos from a website like IDC or FSO or some of the others, or even a photographer online like Danielle or Melanie or some of the others that are working behind the scenes, it's been a long-standing sign of mutual respect to ask for permission to utilize somebody else's artistic work. It's important to ask the photographer, it's important to ask the site to get permission to use their content. I know in some cases there are some sites that allow you to use it without any question. That's great. It's just important to understand that not every site works the same way, and that not every photo, just because it's online, means that you can use it without permission. I want to encourage people to come out into this space and find their own little niche or corner of it.
It's almost an unspoken rule that we have in our media family in figure skating. We know that we respect each other, and we all know how much it takes to come up with what we come up with. And as you said, definite no financial, almost often no financial return. But in a way, what we create is intellectual property. If we were to look at it in legal or commercial terms, so we are happy that there's more attention on the sport. It's great. That's what we want. That's what we do. We have the same aim. But yeah, we're asking for that kind of respect for the work that is put into what we produce. And yeah, in the future, I think we're going to come back to these anyway.
We are.
With other friends of ours.
There are so many other pieces to this that we want to discuss.
Yes, this is going to be a part of future episodes for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, maybe that's also a good segue to talk about another reminder that we should be reminding folks as they start getting ready for this new Olympic quad and they start watching skating. We already saw it happen with the very first Junior Grand Prix event, but people being negative and rude,
mean,
all of those adjectives regarding athletes competing. And we're talking the youngest skaters. We're talking the 13-year-olds to the 21, 22-year-olds competing on the Junior Grand Prix. They are seeing your comments. If you don't think skaters see what you post, I don't know what you're thinking, because skaters are on social media constantly. Even though they say, I'm not looking at it on, when I'm competing, I look at it afterwards. I'll see skaters looking 2 minutes after they finish competing that they're active on social media. So I know Daphne has said this before. I think I'm using your words, Daphne, but think before you hit send. If that was something you would tell the skater to their face, are you gonna post that? Don't post anything you don't want a skater to know about. Just keep those comments and thoughts to yourself. Olivia Smart posted a video about it. She's reminding folks again. And so I thought we should, and I think Mark and Ted, even during I think it was during the women's free skate, I was watching it, and they brought it up as well. So we're just going to remind people again to think about what you're posting. Be kind. And if you've got anything negative to say, just keep it to yourself. Really. We want skaters to feel that they are appreciated and that people are enjoying their skating, even when it's a bad performance. Mental health is so important. And one post, you don't know what that skater is dealing with. That one post can throw a skater off the edge. And so just remember what you're posting. Just think about it. Remember who can see it. Just another friendly reminder as we get started and we have more competitions that have live tweeting and live comments.
Respect the skaters and respect the journey as well that they go through, because as you said, you don't know what they're going through, but also respect the fact that whether they win the gold medal or they're the last at the final rankings of that competition, they still spend their life training and going to school, being with their family and friends, or sometimes not being with their family and friends because they're giving everything up to live their dream. And who are you to judge them? It's not a positive message that we're sending. And, Olivia was saying, do not do it with them. They're too young. You're messing them up. But also with the senior ones, do not do it. It's not good practice. We've had so many examples over the last few years of fans just approaching skaters directly or sending messages saying nasty stuff or things that I did not realize how bad that could impact them. Do not do it. It's we all have preferences, of course, but think about what they go through. If it's so easy for you to judge them, then go do it yourself and show us, how easy that is. If we want to be cheeky, then let me just throw a cheeky comment in.
And with the JGP, we have federations that have a lot more resources than others. So we are seeing skaters from countries who, the skater may only get to skate an hour a week. Or they're having to travel so far to just get ice time. So you're seeing a wide range of abilities and performance levels through all these skaters that are competing on the JGP. So don't judge a skater from some country that doesn't have the same, advantages as someone from like the US and Canada and the European countries that have bigger federations and more resources too. So yes, some skater might go out there and score quite low compared to the top skaters, but maybe that score is the best given their situation and what their training facilities and environment is like. So with the JGP, we see a lot of different levels of ability, but we need to remember they come from different backgrounds and different environments and different lifestyles. Everyone who gets to skate on the JGP, it's a great opportunity.
That's a really important message. And I think it's one that we're going to keep bringing up as often as we need to, even if it's every time. So I wanted to mention another change that we had this season, and that is the return of the Russian and Belarusian athletes to the Junior Grand Prix space to start. And then also they're starting to appear on the Challenger Series lists as well. They had a very successful first JGP. They won all 4 of the gold medals. It's interesting because they're also coming back at a time where we're having such a change. It's kind of like a turnover, really. Ryo Nakata, Minkyo Seo, Mao Shimada have all moved up. Those were really like skaters who were setting the tone at singles at the junior level. And so things look a little bit different. Also, with pairs, several of the top pair teams moved up as well. So in ice dance, we still have 2 of the top teams that are competing, and they were not at this first event. To start out, especially on the JGP, the Russians only get 2 total spots, I believe, per discipline. So they are competing at this competition, and then later we see them at a second competition. I'm expecting that these same skaters that we saw here in China are the same skaters we're going to see at their next competition, because they're going to try or want to try to get them into the final. They want to set them up for that. So we'll see how that continues. It's very different to see them on the rosters. Again, it's been 4 years. They are not listed as being from Russia or Belarus. If it is a skater from Belarus, they are listed as AIN1. If they are a skater from Russia, they are listed as AIN2. And we talked about this, I think, when the ban was first in place. The Russians were initially banned back in February of 2022 due to the war in Ukraine. And they are now being allowed back, and this is the gradual inclusion of them into this skating landscape. One thing we wanted to point out is this ban had nothing to do with the Kamila Valieva doping case, and so that's a separate item altogether. The Russian athletes have to go through a process with the ISU to be cleared as neutral athletes, and that is still a system that it was in place for the Olympics, and we are seeing names come through every so often as being cleared. There are several of their top skaters who have not yet been cleared, and we will wait to see if they are cleared for this. However, there have been some that were cleared, like Kamila Valieva is one, and Alexandra Trusova. Those are 2 that have been cleared at the senior level so far. So the Russians and Belarusians are back. So with that, let's segue into our last little talking point for this episode. What are we looking forward to this season? And I feel like I've talked quite a bit. So Gina, Matteo, why don't one of you go first and share what you're looking forward to?
I think what I'm looking forward to the most is seeing who is next coming up. We know a lot of the skaters we have grown accustomed to seeing are not planning to compete this season. So in ice dance, we're not seeing Madison Chalk and Evan Bates. We're not seeing Piper and Paul. We really haven't heard about Charlene and Marco officially yet, but I don't think we're seeing them given the fact that they're not listed on the Grand Prix. But, those are the top teams in ice dance that we have seen the last several years. So I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to rise to be that top team, or those top teams in ice dance this season. But not just in ice dance. I'm looking forward to seeing how this partner shifting with these new partners and pairs in ice dance are all gonna turn out this season. If Alyssa Liu is coming back, I'm looking forward to seeing what her post-Olympic season is going to be like. So it's just this, new quad that I'm excited about, because with every new start of a new quad, we see who's going to rise to be one of the skaters we want to watch over those next 4 years, or those teams we want to watch over those next 4 years, and who's, just those up-and-comers. Yeah, so that's what I'm, excited about.
Yeah, I would have probably said something similar, because there are also, so many big names that you already mentioned. I'm thinking about, Kaori Sakamoto as well. Luna Hendricks are not there anymore. It feels like more than the last 4 years, this feels like it's a proper moment of change, where things will shift in so many different, I think in all the 4 key disciplines. So it will be interesting to see how everything shapes up. And as we know, skating is incredibly unpredictable, because, for instance, in ice dance, we knew who the top 3 teams were for the last Olympic cycle, and then the Olympic champion Cicerone decided to come back with a new partner and win everything. So that was a massive upset, and I'm thinking, what's happening? Are they going to stay? Are they leaving? If they stay, what happens with, say, teams like Emilia and Vadim, which had a stellar season last year? What are they going to provide? But also what happens with the big names that are still out there? Olivia and team keep growing. They got so much to offer. And Olivia, as we said before, she's also doing a lot of really good stuff about talking beyond what she's meant to do as a performer or an athlete. But yes, it will be interesting to see how things evolve. What I hope we will continue seeing, which is, I think, something that we saw picking at the Winter Olympic Games, is that kind of spirit of fraternity, of camaraderie. And I still hope that we see, the Alyssa Liu spirit of hugging the bronze medalist, almost saying, "Oh, it's real. Well, you are the new Olympic champion, and you should be the one celebrated." So, all these little things that we've seen here and there that made the sport feel very human.
I liked that. The human element that we saw last season, it was amplified across all the disciplines, and I appreciated that so much. I think for me, it's a couple of things. One, I'm looking forward to seeing how the junior to senior athletes do on the senior circuit this season. Especially, we talked a little bit about Ryo Nakata, Mao Shimada, Minkyo Seo. I mean, the list goes on. In dance, Irina Pagaina and Artem Koval of Ukraine are moving up into the senior level, as well as a couple of others. So it's going to be fun to see them kind of ease into the new world, or jump into the new world and be, fabulous, which we know they can be because we've seen it at the junior level. I'm also excited, especially with the JGP, to see new skaters coming out and us getting the opportunity to get to know them as they are debuting this season. And also the growth that we'll continue to see of teams going out for the second year or third year. I love skating because if you watch it as often as we do, you get to see how things grow and develop with a team or skater over years and years. And so that's just something that I really look forward to. Yeah, I'm just really excited to go to competitions, and going to Lake Placid and Dallas really got me in the mood to go to as many as I can. But travel is a little tricky in the U.S. right now. There's a lot of flight cancellations, and things are hard to plan. So I think for me this season, it's going to be the dance final and nationals. Those will be my two that I have left. I've already covered 2 so far, so I'm looking forward to that. But at IDC, we have a ton of events listed. We have photographers at, and so we're going to be covering a lot of events this year, and I'm excited and appreciative of everyone. So with that, we have reached the end of our episode. We should be back next week with something different. So until next time.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of This Week in Skating. Remember, you can keep up with us throughout the week by visiting our website at www.thisweekinskating.com. Connect with us on social media for additional updates. You can find us on Twitter at This Week in Skating without the E's, or Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at This Week in Skating. You got a burning question or feedback for Gina, Daphne, or Matteo? Reach out to us via social media or drop us an email at thisweekinskating@gmail.com. And if you're really enjoying the show and want to support us further, consider joining our Patreon community at patreon.com/thisweekinskating. Until next time, have a nice week.